is the Film Obsessed Couple. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Scott.
If you're a new listener, we really appreciate you choosing us to listen to and also appreciate our long-time listeners.
Yes.
Scott and I are a married couple obsessed about movies. Scott is more analytical while I'm a little bit more open-minded. We are unscripted and unfiltered, which means things will get a little wild and crazy, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So you better buckle up.
And what movie are we talking about today, Shelley?
Oh, geez. Puppet Master.
Yes, one of Shelley's favorite movies of all time, apparently.
I mean, it was up there when I was
It
a
was.
kid. Yeah, when I was a kid, it was very much up there.
Do you think it held up?
No.
Yeah. I was reading the trivia about this, and it said that it was going to be released in theaters, but then they were like, oh, you're going to make so much more money if you just release it direct to video.
I don't know if it... I mean, maybe seeing it in the theater would be kind of cool.
Yeah, maybe. I remember back in those days when they were like, oh, that movie, it just released direct to video. And you're like, ooh, oh, God, I feel so bad for it.
Yikes.
Yeah. Or you're like, I've never heard of this movie before. It was a direct-to-video movie. It just was released and no one heard of it. But it obviously did well because there's like 80 movies now after this. There's sequels.
I had no idea, honestly, until you started telling me all of them. And I'm like, what kind of a Puppet Master fan am I if I don't know about all these?
I know. It's crazy. 15 films.
15?
Yeah, I wasn't kidding.
Holy moly. That's a little overkill, I would say.
I know. It's crazy. And there's like ones that are just about the puppets. There's like Blade or something like that. And there's other
Yeah.
puppets. And
Yeah, I like him.
I watched, well, yeah, he's like the main puppet kind of in this one. I watched one called Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich.
Yeah.
Before this, because it was written by S. Craig Zoller, and I had watched his movies. I really liked Bone Tomahawk. It was pretty cool, and Brawl in Cell Block 99, and Dragged Across Concrete. I thought they were all okay, and they were like, oh, he wrote Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich. I'm like, what?
Say what?
I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a chance, and it has one of the craziest kills in that movie.
Really?
Well, I told you, and you freaked out.
That's right.
Should I just go ahead and tell people?
How long has it been out?
A while.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't want to hear about the craziest kill in the movie and would like to watch it, just fast forward a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
But a puppet goes up a pregnant woman's vagina and comes out with the dead baby. That's like breaks out of the pregnant woman's stomach and kills her and the baby.
You would not. I mean, that's... Do you think that's crossing a line?
I wasn't like, I am so offended. I was just like, whoa, I've never seen that before. Like, that's crazy.
You know it's not real, but still, that could be triggering. I could see how that could be triggering to some people.
You're telling me a puppet can't go up a woman's vagina?
No, not in real life.
Fair enough. Okay.
Maybe in your dreams.
Yeah. So I watched that and I was like, it was okay. They basically make the Andre Toulon, the puppet master guy.
Toulon.
He's like a Frenchman that worked with the Nazis in Nazi Germany, and apparently that guy becomes the villain of some of the movies or the hero. I don't know. The third one is called Puppet Master Toulon's Revenge.
Oh.
So I would have to the lore, I guess, is pretty deep for a Puppet Master.
Wow.
Because in this, he seems like a nice old man.
Yeah, the guy at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they remake it in The Littlest Reich, where he's like this evil Nazi scientist. And
Aww.
he's somehow still alive in current times, and he makes his puppets kill a lesbian couple because he's disgusted.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, because he's an evil Nazi.
That's not cool.
They were like, let's make this kind old man into a terrible Nazi. So I had never seen this before. I'd always heard of them, and I'd always heard of like Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys, like that crossover. So this was new to me.
It's a little odd that I like it since I don't like movies with dolls in them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't consider, even though I know they are dolls, to me, they're not the kind of dolls that scare the shit out of me.
Yeah. Like, where do you think that started? Like, what age did you see something that like scared you from dolls?
Probably like 3 or 4.
3 or 4?
Yeah.
Chucky?
Yep.
Yeah. I used to be scared of that. Now that I'm 6'1", a grown man, and I'm just like, kick him in the face.
Mm.
You know, Chucky works with him just sneaking up on you, but when he's like charging at you, it's just like, oh, look how cute that is. He thinks he's gonna kill me.
I wish I could have that mindset.
I would love to see a movie like that now today where they were like, oh, look at that. Look how cute he is. Like, look how small he is. He thinks he's going to try and kill me.
Well, some of the parts in this movie, I was like, you're just sitting there for like 3 seconds before anything happens. Why don't you fight back?
Yeah, which I guess we can get into it. Do you think that these puppets have regular human strength? I mean, they must.
Yeah, they'd have to.
That's the only way I can explain like how they can take down a whole human person.
Yeah.
A full person.
A full human person.
Because, I mean, you know, they're like little dolls. They're like little kind of G.I. Joe scale type puppets.
They're little dolls, you know?
Yeah.
You know, man, they're little dolls.
So, you know, I mean, it doesn't really seem to work, but they really kind of just ambush you, which is really the only way that they could probably kill you.
Yeah, I mean, they have to.
Get you when you're sleeping, or got your back turned, or you're having wild sex on a bed.
Yeah, exactly. And tied up. That's wild sex.
Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to kill him. They was like, oh, you've got to be tied up, he's got to be having sex, he's got to be blindfolded, and then I'll have a chance to kill this man. I would love to see, I know we kind of talked about it with Child's Play, but it would be nice to see like a realistic kind of horror movie with puppets trying to kill you. You're like, get away. Like, stop it. What are you doing?
Well, there is one, I forgot one of the ladies. We'll get to it, but she really fought back.
Megan, I think.
Yeah,
Neil's ex that owns the hotel. Is that the lady you're talking about? Oh.
No.
She throws a puppet, and that's pretty damn funny.
The one from the very beginning that was telling their fortune. The fortune lady.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the movie starts, and we're in the Bodega Bay Inn in 1939.
Yep. It's on a cliff next to an ocean.
Which apparently this was a model. They built it, and it's about the size of a refrigerator, and they hung it up to make it, it's like special practical effects.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, this is not a real hotel.
They should have blew it up at the end.
Yeah, if they had the money, but I don't think they have the money.
Oh, darn.
I mean, the movie just basically ends. I mean, come on, the main character is like, see you later, walks away, and that's it.
Darn, yeah, that didn't happen.
You've really got to put two and two together on this here because it doesn't really explain much to you as to what is happening.
No, it doesn't.
You meet Andre Toulon, and I'm hopefully putting some education on that name there, Toulon. He's played by William Hickey, who is... he's been in a bunch of stuff, but I remember him most because as a kid he was in that show Wings as the old man that like drove everybody crazy.
Okay.
They'd be like, "Oh, do you need to go over here? I mean, what are you doing in town?" He'd be like, "What?" He just drove everyone crazy. So I was like, "Oh, well, okay." And I was like, he must be a main character in this because I don't recognize anybody else. But no, he's in it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really surprised because he was... I liked him at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed very caring of his dolls and was wanting to take care of them and keep them safe.
Yeah, and I was a little surprised at first here because just from what I've heard of these movies, I thought the puppets were like just nothing but evil. But, you know, they seem to be nice. They're helping him out because he's making this puppet with like a sectioned face that like twirls around and it has different emotions. And he's got all these puppets on the lookout for these two men that are dressed completely in black.
Right.
Which I guess we're supposed to assume are Nazis.
Yeah, I mean, any man dressed in black is not good.
Well, in 1939,
yes,
you really have to assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah, none of this is explained. You can really put your own explanation onto it if you want, but I just assumed it was like, oh, the Nazis want his dolls for reasons.
I think it's because they do whatever their master wants.
Mm-hmm.
So, Puppet Master, you know?
Oh, is that the title? Is that how the title works?
It is not the Puppet Master. It is just Puppet Master.
It's a Puppet Master.
Mm-hmm.
These movies, it's always so funny. There's, like, Hellboy does it, but there's all these movies that are like, you know, Hitler was into some weird shit. He was really into puppets and the spear of Christ, and he wanted to do everything to win the war. And again, none of that is explained in this movie, but you just have to imagine that these guys want the puppets so they can win World War II.
Okay. You
You-
know, let's just go with it.
You just cut to a military guy being like, okay, General, Hitler has got his hands on some crazy Egyptian shit. It's to bring puppets to life. And I'm like, oh, that's it?
Just puppets. Not like a robot or anything.
And he comes back and he's like, okay, General, he got himself another piece of weird magic. He has a doll called the Good Guy doll that's about knee high and it's possessed by the spirit of a serial killer. Like, well, I mean, it's a little taller than the other dolls, I guess, but
Me, I'm like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Good luck.
these men in black are walking up the hotel and you see a POV of like a small figure running around the hotel, like underneath people's legs, and no one is noticing it.
No. I mean, he's a little bit bigger than a rat, I would say. And
Yeah.
I would certainly see a rat and be screaming my ass off.
Like, the best thing I can compare it to is a G.I. Joe action figure. So, I mean, if we were in a lobby of a hotel and see a G.I. Joe running around, the way the camera's moving is it's moving pretty damn fast. So,
Mhm.
you would notice it.
Absolutely.
And none of these people know what the hell's going on. So, the Blade puppet goes up to the hotel room where Toulon is staying and has all of his puppet equipment. And these things make sounds, too. And it's funny in the trivia, they were like, despite having no lungs or organs, they make sounds and can breathe.
Yeah, because you hear him.
Yeah, it's like me running, like, especially the fat one later, the big one.
You have to get the idea that they're moving.
I guess so, because yeah, Toulon opens his door and Blade is there, and he's like, "I know." I'm just doing his voice as he is from Wings. He's like, I know they're coming." Or the puppet's like motioning, like, he's like, "What?" He just doesn't know. So basically, these men in black come up to the hotel room, and as they are walking up there, Toulon's like, "I'm sorry, my friends. I wish we could have had more time." Anyway, shoots himself in the head.
Anyway, see you later.
Last words. But it's kind of funny because he puts this pistol in his mouth, and it's like a little spray of red jam behind his head.
Yeah.
And it's like, poof.
That's all they could do.
That's all they could afford. So the movie cuts from 1939 all the way to 2023 because it says present day.
No, I know a lot of movies. Well, I don't know about a lot of movies, but there are some movies that do that
Yeah.
just so when you're watching it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening now.
Yeah.
Even though, we know it's not. But it's so funny how it was like forever.
Yeah. And it's pretty crazy. Yeah. It always makes me laugh now when you watch an old movie and it's like, present day. Like, oh, it's clearly 1970s.
It is not. You do not have all the technology we have.
Yeah. Which I guess we should talk about a little bit of how this movie's made. It looks bad. It looks very, very old and washed out. And I don't know if it's just our TV and soundbar, but we had a lot of problems hearing things. Which we're watching Ted Lasso right now on season 2, and we have a lot of problems hearing people on that too.
Yeah, so let us know. Is it us?
Are my ears going? Yeah, because this movie was all like, it's just one of those old kind of movies you've seen on TV, or an old VHS tape that's all worn out and stuff. Or like, oh, yeah, Johnny went over here. We gotta go find him. You're like, what did he say?
What?
Johnny went over here?
There was a part that we rewound it, right?
A couple times, I feel, yeah.
Try to see or hear what they were saying.
Like Ted Lasso, for example. I mean, granted, I know that people are British and stuff, but some of the times they're so quiet, you have to kind of go over what they said again. Like,
Yeah.
it's with me mums get to me when I was a kid. And you're just like, what? You turn the volume up and he's like, I love you guys.
Oh. Yeah, it's such a sweet show.
Yeah, we got Apple TV recently, so we're going through the shows that are on there that I've missed and had heard good things about. So we're at it says Yale University, and we cut to Alex. I guess he's like a psychology professor, if I remember correctly. But he's having some weird dream of a man dancing in a ballroom with a woman. The man is wearing like a mask, and he's like, "You can't save her, Alex," and pulls like a gun out.
Yeah, points it at the lady.
Yeah, and Alex wakes up and he opens up his shirt and he's got a ton of leeches. And he wakes up a second time and it was all like double dreams, which never have had a double dream in my life.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Where you wake up, you think that was a crazy nightmare, and then you wake up again and it was all a second dream.
Yeah, is that a real thing?
I don't know. Movies make you think that it's real.
I have personally not experienced that.
No.
I even had a nightmare last night, which I don't have them. But yeah, I'll save the funny fact for the end. Let's just say that. Keep listening. I don't want to go off on a tangent.
Oh, about what happened last night?
Yeah.
Oh.
My word.
Well, we can say real quick, Shelly had a nightmare probably because I've been playing Alan Wake 2,
Yeah.
the game. And it made me jump because instead of being like a scary type thing, they just do like these flashes of images on the screen every now and again.
It's like, boom, like right in your face.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I got to find this lockbox here that contains the ammo that I need. And it's like, I was like, Jesus. I'm like, that's not cool.
I'm not even like watching it like you are because I'm overdoing my crafts, you
Yeah.
know, that, having a conversation to myself in my head. You just have no idea. And then you're screaming and I'm like looking up and I see this flash of something. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, I was like, it gets me.
But it was enough to trigger a nightmare.
Yeah, and there is a spot last night that I literally almost jumped up. I don't know what was wrong with me last night, but there's a spot where like an enemy jumps out in this general store that you're in. And it's like, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, what is wrong with me? I'm such a pussy.
Well, I have to say it is so hard to get you to jump unless I touch you, and then you automatically do a little jump.
Yeah, I think it's my meds.
It's okay. But as far as watching movies, it is so hard to get you to have a jump scare.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen it until this video game.
Yeah, I've jumped and stuff. I remember those Conjuring movies we watched. There's spots, when something jumps out at you, you just can't help it sometimes.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, jeez. But yeah, most of the time I'm like, something's coming. Something's coming. There it is right there.
I just know it.
But this
Somebody
one-
said how good their life is. It's going to go downhill now.
Well, this one's like, oh, I need to heal myself because I was hurt. Like, what? Don't flash the screen like that. What the fuck? We cut to New York, and we see like a shot of the Statue of Liberty, and I'm like, this movie could afford to film in New York?
Say what? They took that free ferry like we did.
Yeah, I guess so. But there's two scientists working here, Frank Forrester and Carissa Stanford. Well, it's Frank and Carissa. Frank is holding on for dear life to his hair. You can tell that that's going to be going at some point.
Yeah, poor guy.
Carissa, they're both like, you find out here later, psychic scientists, and they're doing an experiment trying to get this woman in a room to think of her wildest sexual fantasy.
Like, okay, that's personal.
Yeah, and they have like this machine and they're like tuning knobs and stuff, like they're trying to get the frequency, and Frank's like, oh, can you get it? Do you feel it? Like she's wanting to run naked down a beach. I'm like, that's your wildest sexual fantasy?
Yeah. Running naked?
In a beach, I guess. But the woman, Carissa, is like, no, I can't hear her thoughts or something. So it's not really clear what it is that she's doing.
Yeah, I put in my notes that the guy seems like a creep because he's like, I'm getting a horse and a guy. And I'm like, oh, gosh, let's not do bestiality right now.
Yeah.
That cannot be it.
Well, we know he's into some wild sex later.
Oh, yeah.
We also see a carnival, and we are at a psychic fortune teller booth here. One thing to note is that it's a woman and her boyfriend, young woman and her boyfriend. This young woman does come back as a cop in Puppet Master Littlest Reich.
Whoa.
Yes, and I was like, oh, she must have been the main girl, because it was like, oh, she returned to the franchise. And I looked her up before we watched this movie, and it's like, woman at carnival. I was like, oh.
Oh, she was only in the movie for like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is a little comedy here, because you think that the psychic woman Dana, who is one of the main characters, is full of shit, because the lady is like, oh, tell our fortune, and she's like, I see your boyfriend, you'll get married and you'll have kids and he'll be a super wealthy worker. And she's like, well, he don't graduate the 3rd grade or whatever.
The 10th grade.
Yeah, he didn't graduate the 10th grade. Can you look again?
Because said he was going to be in like financing maybe.
Yeah.
And then she's like, but he didn't graduate the 10th grade. And she's like, oh, it's actually construction is what he's going to be in. Like, what does that mean? What are you saying about construction workers? That's not cool.
I don't know. Then she has like a legitimate flash of like her in a hotel, and you're like, well, that's got to be what's going to happen in the ending.
Yeah, she grabs her throat and she is freaking the fuck out.
We find out that they are all connected because I called him Leech Man at the start until we got his name. Leech scientist calls the two sex scientists and is like, Neil has died. And they all make plans to gather at this hotel from the very beginning.
And we're like, okay, Neil died. Who the hell is Neil?
Oh, we'll find out.
Yeah, we will.
Wouldn't you like to know?
I would.
Then stick around. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, all these people show up, and basically we learn that they all knew this man named Neil who has been... They show up to this hotel that I guess they know he owned.
It's the same hotel as at the beginning.
Yeah, because they're surprised because as they get there, they're meted by like an old maid named Teresa, but this lady comes out named Megan, and they're like, "Oh, are you the owner of this hotel?" And she's like, "Yes, I am Neil's widow." And they're like,
Say what?
Neil got married? It doesn't sound... He's not the man to have gotten married.
He's a narcissistic asshole. I could never see that happening.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I owned this hotel from my family, and Neil and I got married, and he helped me fix it up. And she's like, please come in here. And I wonder how long Neil has been dead, because they come in, and his body is just in this casket, like, preserved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't care if it was your last will to not be buried until you see your friends again, hun, but I don't know if I could wait. She's just staying in this hotel with her dead husband in one of the rooms.
Yeah. And I'm sure I didn't see anybody's breath, so it's not like it's a cooler, you know?
Yeah, well, do you have to keep it cold after you've taken everything out and embalmed it and all that?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
Your body's going to automatically start to decompose whether you do stuff or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you get buried and you decompose.
It'd be crazy if they come in and you're like, well, he died 3 months ago and he's decomposing in here now. Which, it's been a minute since we've watched it. Do they explain how he died?
They do at some point. They mentioned that he took the same route as the beginning guy. Right,
because they were like, well, how come we didn't sense that he killed himself? Because they're all... Basically, what the whole plan of this movie is that all of these people that we've met, Leech Man, the two sex scientists, and the fortune teller lady, are all psychics.
Yes, they can see things.
They're all like connected, and they were like, well, if Neil killed himself, we would have noticed, and nobody sensed it when he did it.
Like, that's because you guys are awful. You're awful at your job.
You're terrible. But they go into this room where the casket is, and the fortune teller lady, she's like an alcoholic pretty much, I think. She was like, well, if Neil's dead, then I'm going to do this. And she takes this like 15-inch needle out and shoves it into the body.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I guess he's dead. All right, that's good enough for me.
Like in his heart.
Yeah.
And it's so funny when she pulls it out, she's like, dead as a doornail.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. Okay.
Very sensitive.
Yeah, you're really pleasant person.
We see them all like unpacking here, and the fortune teller lady, Dana, unpacks. She's like burning incense in her room, and she gives some half-ass explanation of like to clean the room, to cleanse the room or whatever. This house is clean. Chad. That'd be funny if that lady showed up.
Oh,
as
yeah.
one of them. They're like, hello, we all grew up together and went to school, and Neil brought us all together to work on a project. My name's Alex. This is Dana. This is Frank and Carissa, and this is our 80-year-old friend Tangina. Yes, hello, child. We went to college together.
Don't go towards the light. Or do. I can never remember.
It's that 30 Rock thing. It's like, hello, fellow students. She's got like a skateboard. Yes, we all hang out together.
I am cool with the kids.
Funny fact is that Zelda was the same age we are now when we were born. Yes, I decided to go back to school and get my degree.
A degree in what?
Wouldn't you like to know? like, I'm still figuring it out.
I'm not sure what I want to be when I grow up.
Oh, I audit classes. I go in and I just sit and eat my soup in the bag. The teacher looks at me and I'm like, I piss people off.
That's what you should do at 80 years old.
Yeah. I ask weird questions like, you said that the math problem is done this way, and I just want to know why. Like, you're asking why the math is? Yes, I want to know, what is that symbol that looks like a plus sign sideways? Multiplication? Yes, they hadn't invented that when I was last here.
Holy fuck.
She is not in this movie, but it would be amazing if it crossed over.
Oh, yeah. That would be hilarious.
Puppet Master versus Poltergeist.
I just lost my shit.
But anyway, the psychic lady, she pulls out this dog that is stuffed.
It's like a taxidermy.
Yeah. And she talks to it throughout the movie, so I guess it's like a good luck charm or something for her, but I couldn't do that to one of our dogs.
We had this conversation before in Coraline?
Caroline? Coraline, yeah.
Yeah. I think I did say Caroline. But they have some stuffed dogs in there. And at one point, I was seriously thinking about Missy, my Chihuahua I had for a very long time. But yeah, it would just be weird.
Yeah, it's they're gone, and seeing them, I think, would just be harder.
Yeah.
Make it harder.
Yeah.
Because it's it'd be weird to love on them. They can't run and jump and go out.
And they're all stiff, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I'll bring it back for you.
Yeah.
So they're all having dinner in the ballroom later in the night, and this is where they all tell Neil's widow, Megan is her name. I kept calling her Neil's ex throughout the whole thing until they one time were like, Megan! I was like, oh,
there
Megan.
it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, basically, Neil brought us all together. He and Frank, the scientist guy, worked and discovered the work of André Toulon, who was a French doll maker, who was the last puppet master. He had discovered ancient Egyptian magic of bringing things to life.
Ooh.
And
All right.
they said they brought Dana the psychic in because that helped. She helped them find him, Toulon. Clarissa is brought in because she can reconstruct the history of objects by touching it, which we see earlier because she lays in their hotel bed. She's like, oh. She's like, some 2 stars had wild sex in this bed.
Yeah.
And it was, oh God, Clark Gable and Carol Lombard, who apparently were together. But she can feel the history of something when she seems to really only use it for sex.
Yeah. She's very sexual.
Yeah, because she's in a bath later and she's like, oh, 2 women in the war dodged the draft and spent a whole weekend in this bathtub together.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
I mean, that'd be kind of wrinkly. After a while, you just got to get out.
You got to do something else, not a weekend in the bath. But,
yeah.
And Alex can dream of the future. So they were all brought together, and as they're talking, we get a cuts back of the maid. Her name's Teresa. She's getting the fireplace ready, putting wood in, and she keeps hearing noises. And you see Neil's casket, these 2 hands pop out of the casket and pull itself up. And this puppet's name is Pinhead, which they had a lawsuit on their hands from Hellraiser. Although they don't ever call him Pinhead in the first one, I don't believe.
Well, and the thing is that Dana told her earlier, don't go near the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, don't do it.
Yeah, and this puppet, it's a size puppet, but he's got a very small head and he's got big hands, like human hands, which I read in the trivia. It was a smaller actress, so as they put it in the trivia itself, dwarf actress, probably not politically correct now, but she had the puppet on her head and her hands. She said it was kind of difficult to
Oh,
maneuver.
wow. That would be weird.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to kind of maneuver it around, but those hands are real people hands.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think you even was like, "Do you think that's real hands?" And I'm like, "I think so."
yeah, they looked real because they were moving and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She keeps hearing things, and she turns around, and something that sounds like runs across the piano that's in the fireplace room.
Yeah.
And she gets a fire poker and is like checking it out, and there's nothing there. And as she is looking, something picks up the fire poker that she has set down, and it's just a very quick cut of her getting hit in the head, and you see like this blood splatter hit the fireplace wood.
This is when it kind of upset me because she's like, "Oh no, let me wait until it hits me." Okay, there got me.
Hold it and hold it.
Like, you had so much time to react, even if your fright or flight kicks in. You had time to get out of that fright and flight.
You should have flighted.
Yes, I know that did not make sense.
So we do cut back to the dinner, and Dana is getting wasted. The psychic lady is getting wasted and is like talking shit to Megan about Neil. But anyway, Alex like walks her out, and he's like, well, we all kind of went our separate ways because Neil ended up fucking us over in different ways, and that's it. We hadn't really talked to each other until now, and here we are. We do get kind of what we've already mentioned here, where Megan, the ex, is like, oh, well, I inherited this hotel, and Neil helped me when we got married. But after a while, all he did was just stay up on the third floor, or whatever floor it is, and not come down. He just holed up in there doing his own work.
I wonder what's up there.
I'm sure we'll figure it out later.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're back to people in their hotel rooms after dinner again, and Megan, the ex, is like walking around doing things in her hotel room, and she faints because she sees Neil sitting in a chair with like eyes open, like he's alert.
Like, what?
And
You should be having some rigor mortis going on. You shouldn't be able to be sitting down right now.
Yeah, I know, and I don't even remember how they explained this away. They're like, somebody must have set him up like this.
No, they blamed it on Teresa, the lady that just got killed.
Yeah, which nobody has noticed, which did the puppets, I guess, drag her body out?
Maybe.
No one just goes in that room. They put like an out of order sign on that room.
Yeah.
Being cleaned. Well, no one go in there.
Oh, Teresa's in there. That's fine.
And this is now also the time where we get Carissa nude in the bath about the two women. She's feeling it, and Frank is like talking to her, and Carissa's like, what would you do if you got Toland's power? And he's like, I would rule the world. With puppets, can you explain?
What? How would you do that?
Explain a little further. Carissa gets out of the tub, which you do see her naked because you got to have nudity in these movies.
Yep.
But she gets out of the tub. Frank is not responding to her anymore. She's like, well, Frank, are you there?
It says his name like 5,000 times.
Frank? What was that? We learned about Ted Lasso where the word becomes a sound.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's like, Frank? Frank?
That sounds weird now.
Is someone saying Frank in here? But she goes around the corner and Frank pops out with pantyhose on his head.
Yeah, some weird fantasy, I guess.
Yeah, he said he wanted to get her in the haunted house mood.
All right.
We see Alex walking through the hotel, and he sees Dana, the psychic. She's burning incense and like a paper on her door. And she's like, the Gallaghers, it's Neil Gallagher and Megan Gallagher are their last names. She's like, the Gallaghers want to kill us. And she has like a chicken foot in her hand and like coats it in blood and like, scrapes it across Alex's hand for protection, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess so. And if you knew this, like, why are you here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, we see Dana in her room, and we get another puppet POV running across the floor. So you're like, oh shit, there's one in here now. We see her playing like with tarot cards next to her stuffed dog. So crazy.
'Cause that's what psychics do.
They play tarot cards and do psychic shit all the time.
All the time.
And here we go. We get like this 10 to 15 minute sex session. Basically, is Carissa and Frank just have sex, and we keep cutting back to Alex, which it's such a bad shot in the movie because at the time I had to rewind it because I was like, we cut to Alex and he's like can't sleep because of their wild sex.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, who was that guy? And you're like, who? I'm like, that guy tossing and turning. I'm like, we haven't seen him in the movie yet. And you're like, that was the leech guy. I'm like, oh, like it's such a bad shot of him because he's got like pillows over his head and stuff. I was like, I couldn't even recognize his face.
Well, we saw him just a second ago getting a drink or whatever in his room, and then now he's in bed tossing and turning.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how much time just passed?
Well, we see him in a minute, like walk around some more because he meets Megan, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But you're like, what day is it? I even put it in my notes. I'm like, oh, the next day he's walking around, but it's the same night.
No, because I think he has a nightmare.
Yeah, can't get to sleep. So with their wild sex here, Carissa has tied Frank to the bed and she puts a blindfold over him.
Oh, yeah.
And she's got like this see-through robe on or whatever, and she just is on top of him.
Yep.
And they're having crazy wild sex, and you see a POV again of a puppet, and he like brings a chair. You see like the little hook a chair so he can get up and look into the keyholes of the different places.
And you know this because he's going, The
goddamn fucking chair.
It's heavy.
He spies on Dana, and she's just doing weird psychic shit because of course she's a psychic. And then he spies on Carissa, and they're having crazy sex.
He's all like, wait a minute.
They hear a sound, and Carissa gets off of Frank and investigates underneath the bed. And
no, and he even said it. He's like, untie me before she gets off.
Yeah.
And she's just like, nope, I'm going to look underneath this bed.
Give me a fucking second. I'm going to look under this bed. And she does, and she sees a puppet with a drill in its head. And the one thing I actually do kind of enjoy is that these puppets, when they move, it's claymation. So you can kind of tell it's like stop motion almost.
Yeah.
Like Coraline was. You can kind of tell they really put some effort into it. But this puppet rushes at Carissa with his head down, and you just hear her kind of like screaming as it happens.
And he must run real fast because he's at one side of the bed and she's at the other. Again, can you just lift your head up?
Tiny puppet.
Like, maybe we need to time this stuff and recreate it because I really think a lot of these people could have just moved out of the way.
Yeah, they could have easily gotten out.
And you'd be fine.
Well, I guess we find out later this thing drilled her in the mouth because Frank did that earlier. Because
I
Frank,
see what you did there. That's funny.
Well, Frank doesn't really hear her very much. You just hear her being like,
oh, yeah.
And this is the stretching the limits of believability here because a tiny little woman puppet comes up now and she's like flicking and playing with Frank's nipple. And he's like, ooh, Carissa, that's so sexy. You know what I like. I'm like, it's a puppet hand.
Yeah.
The thing is tiny. There's no way you wouldn't have been able to like not tell it was a puppet.
Yeah, and all that like plastic, I'm guessing it's maybe they're wood. Okay, they're probably wood.
Wood or felt maybe even, but I don't know. But yeah, he's like, oh, Carissa, and this puppet, which apparently it was made of latex, and it had like a little thing just pop out of the mouth a little bit, and then they cut and have a full thing. But this was the scene that you explained the movie to me. You were like, oh, I know the one that I want to watch has leeches in it. Because this thing spits out leeches on Frank's body.
Yeah.
And he's like, hoo, what is that? And he's like, oh, it hurts. Oh, why?
Yeah. And you get to see pretty close up to this doll spitting this leech out of her mouth. It doesn't look the greatest, but I could tell they put some time into it.
Yeah. Yeah, they really, the puppets were pretty well done. They put some time and they did like the claymation to make it look like they move. But, while he is struggling, Frank's blindfold slips and he sees the leech woman. He freaks out. And this is where it cuts, and I was like, okay, so it's next morning because we see Alex and Dana again in the hallway. And Alex is walking, and Dana is, like, drinking, and she makes a move on him, like, hits on him.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm okay. And I was like, you just spoke. You did the whole, like, chicken hand on him, and I was like, this is obviously the next day, but they would cut back to Frank, and he's getting killed. Dana goes into her room, and this is Neil's body is sitting there again.
Yeah.
She starts shaking what sounds like a can of quarters over the body and blows smoke on him. And she's like, well, he won't be, his eyes like close on the body. And she's like, well, that won't be bothering us anymore because I shook $1.50 at him. And this is where you realize that the puppets must have human strength, because she goes over to her bed, and it's the Pinhead puppet, right? The big human hands puppet.
Human hands. Mm-hmm.
He runs behind her and pulls her legs and flips her up to the bed. So he must have human strength.
Yeah. We're going to say so.
And this is where you were right. Dana, she's like fighting back. He starts strangling her, and she like throws him across the room.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's a fucking puppet.
It's tiny.
He got a little tiny head.
This tiny puppet. You just grab it and fucking throw it.
Like,
Kick it.
You know, they say that men's, you know what, is about the size of their hand,
Mhm.
right? Can you imagine? He's just got this teeny tiny little body. I mean, I know he's just a doll.
This is
but-
like gigantic penis is what you're getting at?
yeah.
Just dragging as he walks.
He'd be like a tripod.
Bigger than that. Just dragging on the ground. He walks with it. Uses it as a pogo stick.
Or you use that as a weapon.
Yeah.
Just smack you up beside the face.
Whoosh, that would sexually assault you to death. She is like crawling. I guess she got stabbed or he cut her or something, because she's crawling down the hall. Dana is, to get into the elevator. And Blade, as I was calling him Hook Hand in my notes, starts running, and she manages to close the elevator door on him.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, is she going to get away? And yep, she's a fighter.
So it is Dana. I thought this was Megan, but before she gets into the elevator, Pinhead is chasing her, and she grabs him and throws him over the railing of the stairs.
Yeah.
And he falls to the bottom of the floor. And then she crawls, closing Pinhead out of the elevator. And you pointed it out, but she's like, ground floor. You're like, you just threw that puppet to the ground floor.
Like, why are you going there? He's going to be down there.
Yeah. So she opens up the door, and Pinhead is standing there waiting for her.
Hello.
He punches her, and she throws him again because he's just a stupid puppet. But Hook Hand jumps from the top of the elevator. He like comes from the utility panel or whatever,
Mhm.
and slices her throat.
After 5 seconds at least.
Yeah.
And she dies pretty quickly. I mean, just little cut. She's dead.
Yeah. Which I don't think we mentioned it at the first, but when Frank and Carissa are, arriving at the hotel, they are in the elevator, and Carissa gets like a crazy premonition, or like, them fighting, I guess.
Neil essayed somebody. It wasn't good.
Yeah, which that never really comes back. Was it Megan, his ex? Did he do that to her?
No.
She seems kind of fond of him.
It was somebody else. And I
Crazy.
don't know if they told her or what, but yeah, it was kind of irrelevant. Like, why were they just trying to paint this Neil guy as a really bad guy?
Yeah, it's like it's slowly revealing that he's a terrible person.
Which, I mean, they seemed like they already knew that.
Yeah, they're like, he's an asshole,
Yeah.
Leo.
So, so we don't need more of that.
Now we cut to Alex. He gets a knock on his door from Megan, says that she's got to show him something. They go up to the under construction floor, I guess. This place looks like it's being worked on still. And she's like, I've got to show you something. There's a connection between Tolan and Neil's work. And she opens up a door, and it's the big ballroom from his dream earlier.
What?
And it's Neil dancing with her again. Says, you can't save her, pulls a gun out.
Oh my gosh.
And Alex wakes up.
Oh my.
It was all a premonition dream.
It was just a dream again.
Although the ballroom doesn't come into play, does it? Is that where they were having dinner earlier, I guess? He must be just having dreams of what could happen, or what's going to happen.
Maybe.
But, wouldn't you know it, Megan knocks on the door, and she's like, I have something to show you, and the door behind him opens up, and she's like, can you all keep it down? I'm trying to sleep. I'm 80 years old.
And you would think that he just had this dream.
Yeah.
He knows he can dream of the future. Why wouldn't you just be like, no, I'm not going to go with you?
I can see what will happen, and I'm not going to do that.
But he, like the whole time, he's just following, like, I know what's going to happen. Let's just see how this plays out.
Yeah. Well, they follow and do the same exact thing, like you said. And instead of opening up to a ballroom, the door she wants to show him opens up to the room where Toulon was making his puppets in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "This is where Neil was working the entire time, and he wouldn't come out of this room." They find Toulon's diary, and it's basically like, "I loved my dolls like children." And he's like, "I gave them life." And he's like, "The puppets are harmless when the person's good, but in the wrong hands, they could be evil." I put in my notes here, I didn't remember it very well, but Alex has a vision of Neil pointing a gun at the camera here. And he's like, "Hi, Alex. Bye, Alex." And they freak out, and Alex and Megan like run down the stairs.
Oh boy.
And this is where he has a vision of everybody in the dining room, like sitting together, like all the groups of psychics.
He's like, oh yeah, they're in the dining room.
Yeah, I also put in my notes here. When he has a vision, he acts like he comes. He's like, Alan Wake. When you heal yourself, the cop, the FBI agent in the game, sounds like she's coming when she heals.
Yeah, a little orgasmy.
Yeah, you wrap like a bandage around your arm and it gets your health going back up, and she's like, "Oh." I was like, that is a little sexual.
Maybe it's like soothing aloe, and she's like, "Oh, that's nice."
Oh. So, because of his vision, Alex is like, "Let's go to the ballroom," and they go, and all of the psychic people are now sitting in chairs, and they are completely dead. Like, and this is where you see Carissa. Her face is like completely mangled. It looks like she's got a little bit of ketchup on her mouth.
Yeah, a little bit.
I didn't really have much money, I don't think, for special effects. And Megan is like, "We've got to get out of here." And holy shit, Neil walks in.
What? He's dead.
He's like, "It was me the whole time." He goes, "Not leaving on my account." And Megan freaks the fuck out.
Well, yeah. I would too if it was like you and you came back alive. But
Yeah.
I would be like, "Oh my gosh, you're back. I don't care how you are.
I don't care how you kill people now.
It's fine."
It's like Pet Cemetery. It's like, you came back wrong, but I still love you.
Yeah.
They're like, "You're dead." And he's like, "Metaphysically speaking, I killed myself, but I brought myself back to life using the Egyptian magic, and I'll now live forever." And he gives it away. I could kill him. He's like, "Well, technically, my entire body will have to be destroyed to kill me, but that's never going to happen."
I'm like superhuman. You're going to have
Yeah.
to really tear me apart. Good luck.
He's like, "I brought you all here because you would have psychically realized I found the secrets of Toulon's magic." And he's like, "And I couldn't have you finding it." And he's like, "I've been working and trying to experiment on things to bring people back from the dead so I could live forever. I started by experimenting on Megan's parents." And she's like, "What?" He's like,
Yeah.
"Did he kill them, I think?"
He'd have to.
Yeah, I guess he killed them, and he was like experimenting on them to see if he could bring humans back from the dead.
I mean, I guess it didn't work.
Megan runs at Neil, Neil hits her and punches Alex, and the puppets all seem to be reacting very negatively to Neil here, I wrote. I guess they don't like it when the person's evil, or I guess.
Maybe they're just kind of like, you sound a little crazy.
I have a little bit of a theory, and I will tell you here once we do the big reveal of maybe what's going on.
All right.
They fight. They fight for some time, and Neil is beating the shit out of Alex, and he says a line of "time to die so you can live forever." So is he just trying to bring these people back to life?
I mean, I guess he needs friends, right?
I guess. It's going to be lonely
He's
a
gonna
billion years from now.
live forever. You're gonna have to have somebody else that lives forever with you.
I guess. Well, they start fighting towards the elevator, and Alex kicks Neil into the elevator with Pinhead, the human hands puppet. And Neil's like, he sees this thing, and the puppet's looking at him. He's like, "What are you looking at, you fucking cretin? I'll chop you into firewood." They must be wooden. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Human hands. That was my name for him. Human
Yeah,
hands.
mine too.
Pinhead knocks Neil down, and Neil pops his little head off. And Drillhead comes down and drills into Neil's leg. And I was like, I guess Neil can still feel pain. Because he's like, "Ah!"
Oh,
He's like,
yeah.
"My leg."
And he's like leaking embalming fluid, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's like greenish fluid, and you said that you're like, oh, embalming fluid.
Mm.
The puppets are now moving towards Neil in the elevator. More claymation. Neil tries to get out of the emergency hatch, but oh boy, here comes
Oh, yeah.
Blade. As he's holding on, his fingers are like holding on to the top of the emergency hatch, and Blade slices his fingers off.
Yikes. I kind of forgot about that. That's where we get the green,
Yeah.
nasty embalming fluid.
They all hold Neil down. Drillhead drills into Neil's neck, and Leech Woman vomits a leech into his mouth.
Mm.
And as this is all happening, like, Megan is outside the elevator, and she's like screaming for it to all stop. And they do after they kill Neil.
Oh, okay.
Neil dies because you see that Blade has his little hook hand in Neil's like the corner of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And when Neil dies, Blade takes his hand out and it goes like does a little
That's so weird.
out of his mouth. So the next morning, it's just over.
Yeah.
They're like, you want to know, like, well, what happened with all those puppets?
And the dead bodies.
Yeah,
I'd imagine the cops would be there.
because Alex is like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, peace out.
And he's
See
like,
ya.
I'm sorry that all my friends are dead. She's like, well, actually, no, child. I'm still alive. I had a great time. I went to bed at 6. I woke up at 4 a.m. Nothing was...
I heard some screaming, but it's fine.
I had some screaming. I took some more melatonin. I went right back to sleep, child. I gotta go. I got some work. I hear of a little girl that disappeared in her TV.
TV.
Tangina, why are we friends? I babysat you when you were a child. So I was like, well, that's nice of Alex to just be like, I'm getting the fuck out. I still have work to do. And Megan's like, we'll see you later. Goodbye. What happened to these puppets? What happened to the bodies? No one knows.
Who knows?
And Tangina's like, oh, I'm taking these bodies for myself.
Do experiments.
I heard about living forever. I want to live forever if I can get another body. I'm 4'4". I'm 4'4" and 80 years old, child. I need a new body.
I want to be 5'6" and at least in my 40s.
Oh, I can only live forever if I'm in a little puppet. I'll be even smaller.
That would suck.
And they put her into like a puppet that looks exactly like her. It's got like those big glasses and stuff. Like, this isn't what I thought it would be. So Alex leaves and Megan's like in her hotel and she picks up the stuffed dog that Dana had. She pets the dog. The dog comes to life and she puts it down and it cuts. That's it.
Yeah, the dog runs off and I put in my notes, so cute. And then, yeah, that's it.
I was like, wait, what? Like, what does that mean? And I looked it up and did some more research, and apparently it's hinting that she was the real puppet master, maybe.
Oh.
Like, she maybe could control things better than Neil, or has figured out how to control things better than Neil could.
I'll be darned. Maybe she figured out after her parents died that he did it.
Maybe.
And was all like, I need to figure some shit out.
Yeah. I don't know if she returns in any of the other ones, but she's like, oh, I really need to figure out, and I'm going to go ahead and let Neil do his whole thing and kill all of his friends. But then I'm going to jump in at the end.
Then I'm going to make sure he dies.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. And there are 14 more after this one.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Puppet Master, The Revenge. No, that's Jaws. So, having never seen it before, I thought it was okay. It had a little bit of like an old charm, 80s charm to it.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, no, I still like it. It wasn't as wonderful as I remember.
Yeah, definitely not scary to me, at least.
No, it was a little bit more comical.
Mm-hmm. Which maybe that's what they were going for.
Maybe.
So, that's it.
Yeah, we didn't have any comments on anything, so nobody to shout out. But if you want to shout out, just make sure you comment on one of our posts on Instagram or Facebook. And yeah, we appreciate everybody listening.
Yeah, we thank you. And you had hinted at the beginning of the movie. Did you want to tell why you're so tired today?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted to get into it, but I learned this thing that happens with cats. Whenever they're scared or they feel like they need to kind of protect themselves, they secrete their anal glands,
Mm-hmm.
which is in your butt if you don't know,
Oh, okay.
because
Anal.
that's anal. And it's shit basically. It's yeah. So our cat Barry was trying to get underneath the covers because it's getting colder.
Mm-hmm.
And Odin already likes to be underneath the covers right next to me, and he's very territorial.
Yeah.
So Barry was getting underneath there, and Odin, my gosh, it was like he barked and lunged at him.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I feel something wet. And I'm like, oh, what is that? So, and it's on my hand. And so I put it up to my face, of course, because you got to do the smell test.
Yeah,
and
what
I'm
the
like,
hell?
holy shit, that is shit. Why is it wet?
Yeah, for real.
So I get up and wash my hand, and I'm like, well, maybe it's not so bad. And I get back into bed. No, it's real bad.
Yeah.
It is all over the place. It soaked through my pajama bottoms. And I had to sleep on the couch the rest of the night.
Yeah, me being able to sleep through an apocalypse, basically. I woke up
Mhm.
and like, hey, did you sleep okay? You're like, no. I was like, holy shit, you think I would have woken up smelling how bad it was?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think because the fan blows towards you.
Yeah, it blows
was-
it towards you.
It was it was just bypassing you and hitting me right in the face. But yeah, I was just like, I can't deal with this. I'm just gonna go on our new couch, and you can't sleep very well on a couch. I don't care how good it is.
Yeah, I know. And you, that's the lesson to everybody now today is that cats get scared. They will secrete their anal glands.
Yep. Vets are very used to it because I don't know, none of our cats have done that in the vet's office.
No, I don't think so.
So, I mean, that's good. But if they get suddenly scared, expect some shit to happen.
For real. Real shit to happen.
So there's my story.
There you go. And that's it. That's the end of this episode.
Yeah.
So next week, I know we're out of October and we only did one scary movie, but
Yeah.
I know there's a lot more stuff out there to keep everybody entertained in regards to watching horror movies. And,
Absolutely.
listen to the last episode we did to hear all the crazy ass shit that was going on to cause us to only have this episode in October. But next week, we'll be doing a movie that Shelly wants to watch. She had asked if we should do it for the podcast at some point. It's called Throw Mama from the Train.
Yay.
So until next week, we will be doing that movie.
Bye-bye.